Welcome back. 12:16 is the time right here in Colourful. And before that beautiful musical interlude with all their different actual styles, musical styles, we heard also from Musiq Soulchild with a song entitled So Beautiful. And Hilton Samuel is still in the studio. We're talking about emotional affairs. Now, Hilton, before we had that little break, we're talking about some people don't even realise that they're having an emotional affair, especially the men.
Especially the men. Yes.
So in saying that, the women must know they're having an emotional affair.
Well, women are on top of it.
Right.
You know. Well, some women still, they when they're in it, it's so titillating. It's so, as a matter of fact, it could become addictive.
Right.
You know. And what transpires is that you begin to talk to someone, you begin to interact with this person, and you, as you bounce off the person, you get a sense of, ooh, this person understands me, you know? Yes. You get a sense that, ooh, this person is an exciting person to be around. This person is great to share ideas and very mentally stimulating. In fact, this emotional thing is all mental, you know, rather than physical.
Yes.
And ultimately it slides into physical, but even when physical transaction, bodily fluids are exchanged, that is still not the central aspect of it. It's just the amount of talk. It's almost as if you could bare your soul with this person and still feel safe. And what transpires is that people, as they interact with other people, and people who make them feel comfortable, who make them feel safe, who make them feel even better than they feel at home or with their primary relationship partner, they begin to share aspects about them, their inner world, as it were, things that they won't normally share with other people. They won't perhaps even share with their partner. So this whole, what develops is what I call a secret second life. And they don't report about it. They don't report about the lunch dates that they have, or the amount of time they spent in coffee, or the extra dropping this person off to the tube station, or staying back a little bit later just to have an interaction.
Yes.
They don't report this because they recognize that if the primary partner hears about this, they may not be very comfortable.
Yes, of course.
They may not be very comfortable. And when you slide into that, note here, talking is a bonding medium, particularly when you begin to disclose aspect of your world that's private. And when you begin to invite someone into your relationship, the hurts that you're transferring. I'll give you a case of a client of mine who called me up the other night, and he went to see this young lady who left something at his house, and he went to drop it off. In the process of dropping it off, they began to speak. They were friends before, they're just platonic friends. And she began to share something that is transpiring in her relationship that she's agonizing over. And as she shared, she was brought to the point of tears. And he said that after that, the only thing that they didn't do was the final act of exchanging bodily fluid.
Yes.
In other words, that moment of exposing herself caught her in a vulnerable position, and she bonded, even though neither of them set out to do that.
Yes. So I'm just wondering though, for our listeners, how can we tell whether or not our partner is involved in an emotional affair?
A number of things. There are a number of, for one, there would be a slight shift, not even a slight, a major shift in the person's habitual actions. In other words, if that person become emotionally dependent on someone, they will no longer be dependent on you.
Yes.
So you will be emotionally shut out.
Yes.
It's not something that I could describe with words, but you could feel it.
Yes.
That you're no longer connected. The person could become crabby, is that the word?
And even I suppose communication would be no longer.
Yeah, communication would be no longer, and sometimes the person could either withdraw emotionally or overcompensate. By that I mean they begin to do more than they usually do, just so to throw you off the tracks. So these are little symptoms. You have to look at the change in habit, the change in sequence. The person, when you have an emotional affair, must eke out time to be with the lover, for want of a better term. So they will begin now to make up excuses where they can be away from home, where they can be with this person without without suspicion being aroused.
So if we suspect that our partner is involved in an emotional affair, what can we do about it?
Well, the first thing I suggest that you do about it is to tell your partner that you're beginning to feel, don't accuse, because from the time you begin to accuse someone, they become defensive, the doors shut down, they go underground, and it's much more difficult to trace. But what I suggest you do is to be quite frank and in an open, candid way, say, look, you know, these are the feelings, you know, the kind of actions, I'm not saying that you're doing this, but this is how, when you do this is how it makes me feel, and these are the suspicions that have been aroused in my mind. You know, what can we do? How can we progress from here? And if it is that they're having some kind of interaction with someone, you just kindly say, I would actually prefer if you don't engage with that person in that way, because it makes me feel very uncomfortable. You may not be aware of it, but I sense that things are happening. And if you take it from that angle, it is much easier for you to maybe negotiate than if you come full on in a confrontational manner, saying, well, look, you know, you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing.
I understand, but what if your partner understands where you're coming from, that you're upset about these liaisons, but feels that they can't do without the other person now because they've become attached?
Well, this is where you either need someone like me to negotiate the whole thing, or you begin to, because an addiction has transpired.
Yes.
You know, and you will have to be very clear about your borders and boundaries. And you definitely now need to flag up that, look, if it is that you want to go off with the other person, I would much prefer that you should be with me. I would much prefer that we build on our relationship. However, if it is that you continue to do those, then I cannot be involved in the relationship.
Yes.
That sounds like an ultimatum, and there are lots of other things you can do, but I think that should be a boundary, a border, a principle that you flag up.
Wonderful. Where can our listeners contact you, Hilton?
Oh, yes, you can get me through my website, which is hiltonsamuel.com. Fire me off an email, and I'll actually send you a crib sheet of things you can either look for or things you can do to avoid emotional affairs at info@hiltonsamuel.com.
Simple.